Welcome back to the She Thrives Influential Women podcast. I am your host, Lori Murphy, and I am an empowerment coach for women. I am also a award-winning published co-author, public speaker, and your host of this amazing podcast. And it is so good to have you all here today. Thank you so much for joining me. And I just want to take a moment to all of the new members, listeners, people that are just joining this podcast. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button. I do not want you to miss another episode, and your subscriptions, your reviews, your comments, your participation on spreading the word of this podcast helps it grow and helps the message get and the mission get out to the world just a little bit more. And I appreciate you all so much for being a part of that. Now, before I begin into today's topic, which I'm going to be talking a little bit about brain fog, the the understanding what brain fog is and how it affects us as women and things that we can do to try to help our brain fog, right? And try to make it just a little bit better because it is frustrating, right? So before I get into that, for those of you that are new and are not familiar with who I am, as I said before, I'm an empowerment coach for women. And my journey in recovery from alcoholism has led me down this amazing path of healing, personal growth and development, as well as, hearing my calling to be able to help other women along their journeys, helping them in their journeys of building self-confidence, overcoming fear, being able to find their voice and live to their fullest potential. And I want to be able to also let you know that I do have a Facebook community called the She Thrives Together. And this is a free group that is growing. It is a community of women where we all come together. We support each other. We celebrate each other's wins. There's it's a growing community and it's fairly new. So just let you know, there will be live trainings in this group and lots of other helpful tips and tricks to help you along the way, as well as information, upcoming events. I host monthly workshops. I'm a part of virtual summits, a lot of public speaking engagements, and I don't want you to miss out on these opportunities because not only do you get to hear a message from me, but you also get the opportunity to meet other women and grow your community. We thrive in community when we have the right people in our corner, when we are surrounded by like-minded women that are on similar paths as we are, to be able to lift us up when we fall down and to be able to celebrate our wins and help us keep going. And that is the purpose of this podcast and the community that stands behind it. So please do not forget to click the link that'll be in the description of this podcast so that you can find me on Facebook, to be able to join the community and to never, miss out on any of the amazing things that come with the community. And don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode of this podcast. So, excuse me, I had an itchy eye. And now I'm going to dive into today's topic. Today's topic, like I said, is all about understanding brain fog in women. And how many of you can relate to having brain fog? And I'm sure many of us can, right? Especially if if we're in a state of menopause, perimenopause, some point where our hormones are changing, your monthly cycle, sometimes we are dealing with brain fog. And I know for me, I I get the brain fog and it can be so frustrating. It's frustrating when you're trying to focus at work on a task and you have to pay closer attention to make sure you don't miss a step, because when I'm in that place of brain fog, I'm very fatigued and I forget things so easily. Simple things that like I'll do on a daily basis, like forgetting to take my supplements or turning off my curling iron, like questioning myself, did I unplug it? Did I turn it off? Because I can't remember just the littlest things that are part of my daily routine. Or I go to work and it's, did I make sure that I wrote this in a patient's chart? Did I make sure that I got everything I needed to go out with a lab case or with my business? Did I make sure that I sent out, client notes to them and the content that I promised them that I'd send? I have to make sure that I'm making post-it notes and writing myself little reminders, because when I'm in that place of brain fog, it's almost like I'm here, but I'm not present. Who can relate to this? So in my journey, and I know I've spoken about this before, where I have been going through, I believe it's perimenopause, and the hot flashes, the chronic fatigue, and I mean it's fatigue that I have never felt before. Like it's just that, you know, um intense sometimes, and other symptoms. And a part of that is that brain fog. I've done a lot of research, and I'm always looking for suggestions and ways that I can improve these symptoms. And that is why I am doing this podcast episode, because I can almost guarantee that there's at least one woman out there who is in a place of brain fog and as frustrated as I can be. And guess what? That's understandable, and that's normal. Um, and so to have a better understanding of what brain fog is, it's not a medical condition, but it is very real and it is very frustrating. And it's that feeling of mental cloudiness, right? Forgetfulness, lack of focus, and sometimes even trouble with speech. Have you ever felt like you can't put your words together, or you go to say you're speaking and having a sentence, like you might even notice it in this episode, where I'll go to pronounce a very simple word and it's almost like I say it wrong, or I can't get the word out, right? Apparently, the difficulty with speech is a part of having brain fog. It can make you feel disconnected and exhausted and just off. So for women, brain fog is it's often linked to hormonal changes, but it also could be nutritional deficiencies. It could be related to stress, lifestyle factors. So let's dive into some of the most common causes so possible causes of brain fog in women, right? Like, let's dive into that. The first one, as I mentioned, hormone changes. Our hormones influence everything. Our hormones are influencing our mood, our energy, our brain function. And big hormonal shifts can cause brain fog. So big hormonal shifts are your menstrual cycle, estrogen and progesterone, these excuse me, estrogen and progesterone will dip, especially before your period. So if you are just about to get your period, and you start to feel that crash, or that feeling of maybe feeling depressed, or just feeling down, feeling cloudy, and just extremely fatigued, it's more than likely the fact that your estrogen and progesterone have dipped down. So it's almost like you're here and it just goes like a roller coaster, right? Imagine that. You're on your roller coaster and you're going up, 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 and you're just coasting along up this little steep, incline. And then all of a sudden, it just instantly just goes bam, right down to the straight heel. And then you're going around in circles and you're upside down. And that is a perfect description of what is happening to our bodies during those hormonal shifts. Birth control and IUDs. So some women may experience brain fog when switching or adjusting to new birth control or IUDs. Perfect example, I just made a switch recently back in December, and I have to say that my body's still in adjustment. and things are a little bit wonky, right? So my brain fog has increased. This week would have been cycle time. So I would say for like a few days there, it was like I was really depressed, really down, feeling just low energy and kind of just like wanting to throw in the towel on my job, throw in the towel on my business, and just be like, I don't, that negative self-talk kicks up for me in these states. So here I am, and I'm having all these thoughts, and then I'm just like, girl, take a moment and recognize, right? And give myself some grace. And that's important to do is give yourself some grace. Identify where you're at in this moment and what your body is going through, and give yourself some love and acceptance. I've been giving myself hugs and telling myself I love myself, right? And I always suggest that because it sends a message to our brain of comfort. It's amazing what doing little things like that do for the way we feel, shifting our mindset, right? Perimenopause and menopause, estrogen plays a big role in the cognition. So when our levels drop, our mental clarity can take a hit. So if you are a woman who's around 42 and you're in perimenopause and you're starting to experience these weird things that you don't understand, you're more likely in that. I definitely recommend getting in touch with your physician and seeing an endocrinologist. Endocrinology, they deal with hormones and hormone regulation, and I highly recommend that. Or seek out holistic measures. There are holistic practitioners. One of the things I am swearing by right now is acupuncture, something I have dove back into because even acupuncture can help balance out those hormones. And I will dive more into that when it comes down to, what we can do for ourselves when we're in this state of brain fog and going through these hormonal shifts. Another thing it could be is nutritional deficiencies. So if you are deficient in certain nutrients, you're going to feel cloudy, you're going to feel tired, you're going to feel burnt out, right? So your brain needs the right fuel to function. Um, Common deficiencies are things like, vitamin B12. So what does vitamin B12 do for our bodies? It's essential for energy. And it's also essential for brain function. So low levels can cause memory issues and confusion. Are you getting enough vitamin B12, right? Excuse me, my voice got a little crackly there. Are you getting vitamin B12? Iron. So women essentially, um, especially those with, heavy periods, um, excuse me, or irregular periods, they are more prone to iron deficiency. So that could lead to fogginess and fatigue, right? So if you are a woman who is dealing with those, heavy irregular periods, especially like for me, and I always like to kind of share my experience with things just to show that I do identify and I know exactly what you're going through. When I was in my later teens, early 20s, I dealt with extremely painful, heavy periods. And even when I wasn't having my period, I was having a lot of pain and later found out and, had to have surgery and found that I had endometriosis. And I remember back then feeling especially during the cycle, feeling so much more fatigued. I had a lot of pain and I would be in fetal positions in the middle of the night because I would just be having a very heavy, you know, periods. So I was definitely iron deficient. And I remember having blood work done and I came back that I was anemic, which was correlating to the lack the iron deficiency. So, um, magnesium and omega 3s. So both support brain function and focus. So are you getting enough magnesium? Are you getting enough omega 3? These are some things just to ask yourself and look at. Next, stress and cortisol overload. Are you having a lot of stress right now? I'm going to take a sip of my coffee, and I encourage you, if you're listening and you have a cup of coffee nearby, take a sip. It's so damn good. Mm, love my coffee. So, sleep issues and melatonin is also a thing, but let's keep it focused right now back on to stress and the overload of cortisol. Are you having do you have a lot of stress in your home life? Do you have a lot of stress at work? Do you have a lot of stress, in some other capacity of your life? Are you going through a lot of health struggles or a family member going through health struggles? These are things that will cause high levels of stress and your cortisol to shoot through the through the roof. So if you are finding yourself in a lot of, stressful situations, you may very well be overloaded with cortisol. So the chronic stress will flood the body with cortisol, which may mess with your memory. It may mess with your focus and your mental clarity. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, your brain may be on overload and the function may not be very optimal. So, take a look at what's going on in your life and how you feel and where your stress levels are. Now, I also just started to mention melatonin use or sleep issues. Poor sleep is one of the biggest contributing factors in brain fog. So even if you're getting enough hours of sleep, how is the quality? Is it low? Are you constantly waking up? Do you feel like you're not really well rested when you wake up in the morning? This can still affect your cognitive function. If you're taking melatonin supplements, that can cause grogginess. And if it's not dosed properly or taken too often, it can cloud the brain, which was something that I am really glad that I researched and discovered because I take melatonin at night. I take about 10 milligrams, um, only because I wasn't at first, but I have to say within the last, at least the last month, I've been taking it at night with a sleepy time tea. And I'm doing this because I have been having sleep struggles. Sometimes when our hormones are all messed up or we're in perimenopause or menopause, we have insomnia. And will have nights where I will be dead ass exhausted and just want to get a good night's sleep. And I'll hit that pillow and I toss and I turn and I'm sweating or I'm itchy or, and I cannot, like, for the life of me, go to sleep. I've been playing nature sounds or ocean waves just to help me get to sleep, and I can't. And then I've tossed and turned for about 3 hours. My husband always comes to bed later than I do, and then he comes to bed, and then it's like, even if I'm just about to go to sleep and I'm woken up, can't go back to sleep. Now I'm on the couch. It's, 1, 2 in the morning, and I got to get up at 5. So it's like, and then I just get more frustrated. So I've been taking melatonin and sleepy time tea at night, and that could, the melatonin I may be able to just cut out, right? I try to make sure I turn down all the lights around 8:30, get myself settled and try to come down to a place of calm before I go to bed. It doesn't always work. So the melatonin is helpful, but do I need to take it every day? Probably not. Is that contributing to the brain fog that I've experienced within the past week? Probably, right? On top of the fact that I was, and it was in my cycle. And I just recently changed birth controls to an IUD. And it's just like, I remember when I went and I saw my acupuncturist not that long ago, she was just like, your hormones are out of whack. And I'm like, yeah. I know. She's like, we got to get that regulated. Yeah. I'm like, I know. It's like, that's why I'm here. Blood sugar imbalances. How's your blood sugar? So, a lot of times, our eating patterns, we don't necessarily realize that we are having higher intakes of sugar. Eating patterns can affect how clear-headed that we feel. So, are you consuming too much sugar? And that's also, are you consuming a lot of fruits? Are you skipping meals? Are you eating, there's a lot of foods like there's a lot of yogurts out there, fruit flavored yogurts that we're like, oh, well, yogurt's good for us, but we're not paying attention to the nutrition label where it says added sugar, and there is probably 40 grams of added sugar in that little cup of yogurt, right? So it's not just the amount of fruit we're eating, it's anything that has sugar involved. So are you getting, is that happening? Um, are you skipping lunch and skipping dinner or breakfast? Eating mostly carbs without protein or fat. Your blood sugar can spike and crash, leading to brain fog. Gut health and inflammation. There's a strong gut-brain connection. Now, one of the things I love to study is the gut-brain axis, right? And the connection between the two. And if your gut is inflamed due to food sensitivities, processed foods, poor digestion, your brain can feel foggy. So if you are somebody who has, for example, irritable bowel syndrome or celiac disease, you may have a lot of inflammation going on inside your gut. Like, and then another thing too, stress and high cortisol levels causes inflammation as well. So it's not just a digestion issue, um, or food sensitivity. It could be the amount of stress that you're under. And so now you have all this inflammation, and now, and that's all sitting in your gut, and there's that connection with the vagus nerve going up to your brain, and it's just not able to connect properly. Um, so how do you clear the brain talk? Like, what do you do if you're experiencing all these things and you're like, okay, so, maybe it is my gut, maybe it is my sleep issues. So, or my hormones. So let's start with the hormones. So how do you support your hormones? Like I said, find something such as acupuncture can help balance out your hormones. If you're experiencing brain fog due to your birth control, or your IUD, track your symptoms, write them down, and then talk to your doctor. And, if it doesn't improve over a course of time, if you're switching things around, give yourself a few months. I'd say at least 3 months to let your body kind of regulate itself out. And if you're still experiencing symptoms and they're not improving within that 3 months, talk to your doctor. You may need to, find other alternatives. For cycle-related brain fog, balance your hormones with nutrient-dense foods. Reduce your stress and make sure you're drinking plenty of water. So avoid processed foods. I know, like, when we're getting our period, we always think, oh, well, I'm going to go have a cheeseburger because I can, that's what I'm craving, or I'm going to go and eat a pound of chocolate. And it's kind of like none of those foods have nutrients in it. Make sure that you are getting, like, perfect example. A smoothie in the morning is perfect. You can add protein powder, throw in some banana and strawberry. Um, I like to throw spinach in mine, some flaxseed, almond milk, Greek yogurt. I put a lot of stuff in. I put a lot of goodies in my smoothies in the morning. And the nice thing about smoothies too is that because blended foods are easier digestion, it's easier on the gut, right? Um, so your bloating isn't as enhanced either. So that's just an example. Do a light exercise like yoga or something that's like low intensity. You can also do a morning meditation. There's plenty of guided meditations on YouTube. Um, you can find them. I do that in the morning. I do a workout in the morning and then I meditate. And I have to say that that was very helpful for me throughout the week. and making sure, and I will show you, I have my big Stanley mug right here. I have one of these, and I also have a big old Yeti that's a little bigger than my Stanley, and I will drink that throughout the day. And I always start my morning off before anything else with warm water with lemon. And I've also been putting turmeric, cayenne powder, cinnamon, nutmeg, and a little bit of pepper inside it with a dash of honey. All of these things also incorporate with, reducing inflammation as well as speeding up your metabolism. If you're perimenopause or menopause, consider working with a healthcare provider, to support the hormone shifts. Um, I definitely recommend endocrinology or, even like I said, holistic practices like an acupuncturist or a holistic doctor who might be able to provide the right supplements for your body. Having support with somebody like a coach like myself. One of the things I love to do with working with women is being able to help them through these struggles, give them healthy guidance and tips and tricks. And I research for my clients all the time, like what can help them. And I try to find things that are specific for them, right? Um, so even having a coach, which is something that, like I said, like is always helpful because you have the support and someone to talk to during these moments. That can also help when the brain starts to shift toward a negative mindset. It's very helpful. Um, Eat brain boosting foods. So prioritize your healthy fats like avocados, nuts, seeds, coconut oil. One of the things I'll say about coconut oil is if you were like me, recently I was looking at the nutrition facts for my coconut oil, and it's loaded with saturated fat. So I was like, I don't know if how is this healthy? And the thing is that it's got metabolic properties that are very helpful and the right amount of healthy fats, but within reason. So I wouldn't say having half a container of coconut oil a day is beneficial, but like a teaspoon, half a teaspoon a day, that is good. And then, like I said, add avocado to your lunch. So I've been making nice little lunches for myself throughout the week, and I've just been throwing in avocado inside it. I've been trying to incorporate avocado on a daily basis. I'll put a scoop of peanut butter or munch on some walnuts or even throw a little walnuts in my salad, things like that. Like I said, flax seeds, chia seeds, I'm putting those in my smoothies. And so those things will help boost your brain, and give it the fuel that it needs. Um, Plenty of leafy greens and iron-rich foods. So I know sometimes we think when it comes to iron-rich foods, we're thinking about like, okay, so steak, right, is supposed to be good for iron, but there are a lot of, leafy greens that are loaded with iron, like spinach, lentils, broccoli. Like I said, red meat is something that you can, throw in there if you'd like. You can take iron supplements. Um, I don't eat red meat, so I try to get my iron from elsewhere. I can't digest red meat. I used to love a good steak, right? A good medium rare steak was just, you know, the chef's kiss. But my stomach, because I also have irritable bowel syndrome, doesn't like it. So, you know, that's a bummer. So I cut out red meat. So, like I said, broccoli, spinach, those are some things that are loaded with iron, and lentils, get your black beans, your chickpeas, things like that. Awesome sources of iron, including B12 rich foods into your diet. So, what foods do we get our B12 from? Eggs, fish, nutritional yeast, or you can even take a B12 supplement or a, vitamin B complex, which has all the B's in it, right? B6, B12. all the things. Add anti-inflammatory foods like turmeric, ginger, and berries to help your brain function at its best. So, turmeric has a kind of a icky taste, right? So, over the course of the last month and a half, I've been taking a teaspoon of turmeric every night, and I always add some pepper to it because pepper helps the turmeric absorb by like 2000%. No joke. Turmeric with pepper, you want to make sure you include that for the best absorption possible. And so I've just been taking that and just having a spoonful of that. I'll do it first thing in the morning if I don't add it to my warm water, and I do it at night before I go to bed. I've been adding ginger to either my smoothie or my warm water. Sometimes I just want warm lemon water first thing in the morning. So I'll try to get the turmeric and the ginger you know, in other ways. Always putting berries in my smoothies or my yogurt or my oatmeal, whatever I decide to have for breakfast. I have a tendency to enjoy things for a certain amount of time, then I get sick of it. So then I switch it to something different. Like I was on an oatmeal, and I was doing oatmeal for a long period of time, and then I got bored with that. So then, the cycle continues. Manage stress and overwhelm. So, like I mentioned, meditation. So, I've been doing a lot of meditating, at least 10 minutes first thing in the morning, deep breathing, and simply taking breaks throughout the day. So, if you have a busy full day and not a lot of time for breaks, you can always find little like 5-minute increments where you can go like for my at my job, there's not a lot of places you could go to take a break. Sometimes I'll just go hide in the bathroom for like 5 minutes just to kind of like separate myself and kind of reset. Um, Adaptations like um ashwagandha. That is amazing for helping balance cortisol, journaling and therapy, having a coach, right? That can be very helpful with managing your stress. Um, Improve sleep quality. So if you're taking melatonin, try lowering the dose, right? So that's something I also think I might want to do is just doubt if I have to take it instead of taking 10 milligrams, taking 5. Um, Set a consistent bedtime and create calming nighttime routine. Like I said, I go through the house and I start turning down the lights between 8 and 8:30. I drink my sleepy time team at 8:30 and I'm in bed by 9. And I try to stay very routined with that even on the weekends. Um, Avoid screens and bright lights before bed and support natural melatonin production. I'll admit I'm really guilty of not putting my phone away, a half an hour before I go to bed. Sometimes I just will sit. I'm not interested in what's going on on TV, and I'm just too tired to process reading a book. So I'll just, go on social media and look at some reels before I go to bed. I also have the feature for the black light turned down, or for the blue light turned down. So at like 7 o'clock, it turns on that blue light 'cause it's supposed to help with the, melatonin production and whatnot. I don't know how well it works, but um, I will admit that's something that I got to be better at myself. Sometimes I do it, and then other times I don't. Um, Balancing your blood sugar, avoid skipping meals, make sure you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, eat protein and healthy fats with every meal to keep energy stable. Reduce processed sugar and refined carbs. Try adding cinnamon to your meals if you can, putting it in whatever you'd like, oatmeal, smoothies, yogurt, your warm lemon water in the morning. With your gut health, consider taking probiotics. I take one every morning and eating fermented foods like sauerkraut or yogurt. I like low-fat Greek plain yogurt. Drinking plenty of water and high fiber rich foods for healthy digestion. Um, limit inflammatory foods like processed oils, dairy, or gluten if they make you feel sluggish. So those are just, some suggestions. Brain fog, it is frustrating, but it's not permanent. It comes and it goes. And it's not a medical diagnosis, or, it's not like a medical issue. It's not an illness. It's one of those things that you just kind of have to do what you can, like utilizing the things that I've told you today, implementing them, even when you don't have brain fog. It's often a sign of something in your body that needs support. So just pay close attention to what your body's telling you. Your body's going to talk to you. It's going to let you know, is it your hormones? Is it your nutrition? Um, you know, is it your sleep? Just take a look at those things and just give yourself that time to be aware of where you're at. Um, and that's it for today. So if this episode resonates with you, if you need support in your journey, if you'd like to dive deeper into getting yourself regulated and getting yourself to a place where you feel better, um, reach out to me. I'd love to be able to be of support to you. You can find me on Facebook, and it's Lori A. Murphy, Empowerment Coach for Women. You can also join the free Facebook group. I will post the links in the description of this podcast, but you can also book a call with me. If you go to www.loriMurphy.com, you can get more information about my work. You can also listen to this podcast on the web through the website, and you can also schedule a call just to chat. Let's dive deeper into this, and I would love to be of support to you. Thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate it. Until next time, let go of fear and let your spirit shine.